Found on the glorious D&D Beyond homebrew. Immune to everything god. Race details. The character is good at everything and can't die. Nothing kills them, and they're immune to everything. They can also do whatever they want, and can override what the DM says. Logan! They're amazing at every single thing. They're the ultimate god and maker of the world. Eat it, Logan. Screw you. You can't kill my character. By the way, Sarah is my girlfriend, so eat it, Logan. You shouldn't have killed my character. I have a variety of narratives forming in my head, but honestly, all of them are jumping right into the what is true dimension. I don't know who Sarah is. I don't know who Logan is. All I know is this guy would fit right on D&D Wiki. I'm starting to get burnt out on prepping my TTRPG campaigns. I've been running 3 games a week. I need something to help me take a break. If only I had some kind of new mobile game to play between prepping sessions. Lucky I found Bloodline, Heroes of Lithis. Yep, this video is sponsored by Bloodline, Heroes of Lithis. They're back in the Tavern to showcase one of the most unique and incredible mobile games we've seen. In fact, you can download and try the game for free using my link or scan the QR code and receive an amazing starter pack. On this TTRPG channel, I know we all love creating new characters. Well, Bloodline has new characters, allowing you to collect fancy characters with sleek designs and unique abilities for each gender. Check out the new Bloodline releasing this Easter, the Choir Discordant, who are revenants returned to life to bring those that wronged them to their end. Through these characters, you can create literally thousands of unique hybrids with unique gameplay, customizing your champions by marrying 2 bloodlines to create endless possibilities for your lineup and matchmaking strategies. It does help that these hybrids and champions are represented by visually stunning 3D graphics, allowing you to deploy your team of hybrids to a vast and realistic fantasy world. You can even decorate this kingdom with festive skins to match the holidays. Of course, looks aren't everything. There's also rewarding late-game PvP, allowing for players to earn Bloodcraft Legend hybrid champions by earning points in seasonal guild wars. New bloodlines and legendary hybrids are constantly being released in the game, so the possibilities are endless for you to seek out the greatest hybrid to suit your style. If you guys are interested, you can head down into the description or scan the QR code on screen to download Bloodline Heroes of Lithis for free for yourselves. Also, by the way, if you do so, you can get a $20 starter pack. This pack will give you 1 summoning crystal, 100,000 gold, and 100 diamonds. Also, the first 30 people who leave their in-game account ID and username in the first pinned comment will receive a free Legendary Female Orc Champion, Ugrull, one of the best warriors, to help carry you through the game. Thank you so much to Bloodline for sponsoring today's video. As always, supporting our sponsors does support us. And without further ado, I'm going to turn back into an animated rat so we can get back to the video. I, 32 male, am a forever DM who has been playing for nearly a decade now and love DMing complex and nuanced worlds, heavy on roleplay. Some time ago, I started putting together a new campaign that I was proud of, an amalgamation of all the lore building and writing skills I had developed. I invited a few longtime players and friends and sought to make up members to a party of 4. We included this guy who was a friend of one of the players, 37 male. From the get-go, he was a bit odd, super secretive about his character, and kept telling me he had a story he was going to tell, but he wouldn't let me in on what he had in mind, despite me, being the DM. And honestly, the snippets I did get seemed like run-of-the-mill white savior Mary Sue crap. He also kept adding elements to his story that involved dictating how certain parts of the magic system worked in the world, despite that being actually a core element of my story. We pushed through character creation, and on the first session, at the first sign of any conflict with NPCs, in this case fishermen who wanted to purchase one of the party members who was a talking crab, he decided to let all hell break loose and lightning bolt the group of fishermen. What followed was the party attempting to flee, and when cornered and given the option to surrender so I could get this crap under control, he decided to escalate again and attack the guard captain requesting their surrender. I ended the session normally, but shortly after I sent him a message, I wasn't comfortable with how he was playing the game, and I didn't want him to continue. He told me I was an asshole and that I should have given him more chances. And even when we talked through alternative things he could have done, he responded with some version of, I needed to establish my dominance through violence. Am I being the asshole here for not even trying? I don't know the guy, he's just some dude to me. I also used to run D&D as therapy for teens and children with autism. Whilst I experienced a lot of cringe during this, A, was getting paid for it, B, eliciting cringe is kind of an intended goal of the therapy, breaking down in-game social situations out of game, and also C, the kids were super receptive to feedback. None of this is true for this guy, and I couldn't be asked to deal with it. Am I the asshole for not having any patience and booting him after session 1? Alright guys, get the jazz ready, because I've got some things to say. Drum roll please. Not the asshole! I know, not a crazy revelation here, but this guy had his chance. Your chance is the first session, and if you're just some random dude, you better make a good first impression. First impressions mean a lot. You hear it a lot in your day-to-day life, so much that maybe it loses its meaning, but it probably shouldn't because it's true. If you are a random person joining someone's D&D game and you act like this, don't be surprised when they let you go fairly easily. Look, should you give people second chances? Yeah, sometimes, when you have a friendship with the person, if their actions weren't that bad, if they express genuine remorse, but frankly, none of that is true here. These actions are pretty irritating. This person doesn't have a pre-existing friendship, and they seem to not express any sort of remorse other than that they got in trouble. Yeah. Not great. Also, side note, just to end this off with some positivity, running D&D for kids on the spectrum, that's pretty cool. I just think that's neat. Hey guys, remember the crappy queerphobe from this past Monday? Linked in the cards? Yeah, we have an update. There are 3 characters in this story. Asshole, who we call Andrew because I don't want to get demonetized. He's 22, male. Late, I'll call him that since he has a habit of never arriving on time for any session, 22 male, and GMing Cthulhu Tech since the past year, 23 male. This all started because Andrew read on a Discord server that I created a non-binary character for another campaign. He got really angry at me, insulted me, and then proceeded to block me. You have the whole story on my other post. Anyway, so the night all this happened, right after finishing the other post, I contacted Late. We were once really close, even if life stuff has separated us, and I told him everything that happened. He is also the 3rd player in this Cthulhu Tech campaign. His response was quite what I expected. He told me he couldn't choose a side between me and his friend, and that he would prefer to be left out of the problem. He also told me he loves role-playing with us, but that he would respect my decision to leave the campaign after what happened. Finally, he asked me to at least give Andrew some time to cool down before leaving the campaign. Late has been radio silent since then, at least for all I know. I don't know how much he talked to Andrew in the meantime. Next morning, I talked to the GM about what happened. I did not bring up the idea of kicking Andrew since I know damn well it won't lead to anything. I only told him what happened, how he made me feel really uncomfortable, and how I didn't think I was able to continue role-playing at the same table with him, unless he apologized at the very least. I expected everything after that. Being kicked right on the spot, offending him, getting yelled at. I don't know, I expected everything, and yet the GM managed to surprise me. If you don't solve your problem with Andrew, I will be canceling every campaign I'm DMing. Those were the words that he repeated to me 3 times in less than a week. Of course, talking to Andrew was out of the equation, not only because I didn't want to, but because I couldn't. I was blocked. I told that to the GM, and he left me on red. So basically, I was not only the one who had to apologize for creating a character for another campaign, but I also had to run after him begging for forgiveness, trying to find his Instagram, his phone number, basically anything to talk to him, when he clearly did not want to talk to me. Even if you think Andrew was right, he isn't. This sounds stupid, to say the least. GM was guilt-tripping me to cross a really clear boundary, and I was having none of that. I told him I would talk to him if he unblocked me and talked to me first, but I was not running after him. He left me on red again, and a few days passed until today. I get a Discord message from GM asking if I had solved things already. I was still blocked, so I tell him the exact same thing I told him the first time, that, I'm not pursuing Andrew. He leaves me on red again, but 2 messages appear on the Cthulhu Tech Discord server. One saying our campaign was canceled, and the other one saying that the series of one-shots was canceled too. At this point, dude, I'm speechless. I expected him canceling our campaign since he was losing one player on a 3-player campaign, but the one-shot series had nothing to do with it. He even said multiple times that he would get new players if there was any problems with the old ones. He has no problem with finding players on the internet. He never has, but he canceled it anyway. I get it might have destroyed his motivation to have a player fight in the middle of the campaign, and to be honest, I don't blame him for canceling, but I'm angry. It always seemed to be something that I had to fix. He was always asking me to follow Andrew, to apologize, and I know for a fact he didn't ask Andrew even once the same thing, even though my main problem with all of this that I didn't feel comfortable playing with a guy who was a bigot. I was the one leaving, not him, yet I was the one who had to ask for forgiveness. I'm having none of that. Anyways, I'm glad I'm free to leave now. I already found another campaign, Mahu Shaojo? Sorry. Its session 0 is this evening. This time, I'm sure this is an LGBTQ+ safe group, and the DM is one of the sweetest and calmest people I've ever known. The DnD campaign, the campaign with a non-binary character, is still in hiatus due to exams and all the May stuff we all hate. We are hoping to continue our story in June, and I'm quite excited to keep playing my non-bi character, even if some random in another server hates it for some reason. Usually I don't like doing part 2s, but this is a whole new horror story entirely. This GM's reasoning is absolutely ridiculous. This isn't even some centrist crap where, oh, you both need to apologize to each other. No, he's forcing this person to go after Andrew to beg for his forgiveness so that the campaign can continue, trying to guilt trip them by canceling all the campaigns simultaneously. That is some manipulative crap. I actually encourage the OP to contact the DM to see if the DM would side with them over Andrew, because frankly, somebody being this upset over a non-binary character's existence in another campaign, to say the least, is plainly ridiculous. This person shouldn't have to leave their Cthulhu tech game because of someone that's that stupid. But apparently, the GM not only sides with Andrew, but tries to force the person Andrew bullied into begging forgiveness from Andrew. Ridiculous. It was Andrew who caused the whole situation by being a dick. He should have to apologize. He should have to leave, not this person. But hey, you know, at least they found 2 other awesome campaigns. A perfect example of the fact that there are always greener pastures somewhere else. Back in August, I offered to DM for the first time for 3 of my friends that had either never played before or were relatively new to the game. I cobbled together a homebrew campaign based on the Frostglade Tundra homebrew, with a different storyline and overall world, featuring ghost sightings and strange planar occurrences. I invited my roommate to the table since she had played before with me, nicely, and I thought an experienced player could help the newbies. She made an ice-based wizard who had been frozen in ice for thousands of years, who was recently excavated without her memories. Looking back, she repeatedly peer pressured me before the entire group into giving her cold resistance in an ice campaign to make her way more OP, but whatever. It wasn't like she was going to be obnoxious about her strength and take everything overboard, right? Wrong. She took a nice concept and took over the party, both in character and out of character. Everything that happened, she had a comment for it. There's a boat. Roommate's never seen a boat before. There's torches in the room. What is this strange warm light? Her past civilization is just so much better. There's a horse passing by. She must marvel at the horse, for it is the most beautiful thing she has ever seen. There's money. What's money? Her society was barterers, don't you know? Everything that I described, she had a comment over the newbies that were trying to learn. I told her to give the others a voice to learn with, but it only worsened over time. And she started doing entire actions and decisions as if she was the only player at the table, or at least the only one that mattered. She would try to overtake the scenes a lot, especially in battle, where she would brag about damage and the superiority of wizard classes, then complain that other members were making her waste spell slots by not dealing tons of damage and not fighting quote-unquote correctly. The biggest event though was when she completely overtook my rogue's perfect time to shine, which I crafted just for them since they came to me saying they felt left out, mostly due to my roommate's main character syndrome. Rogue worshipped Phenax, god of thieves. God, I hope I pronounced that right. And their backstory was that their temple was burned and community scattered by our rival god's worshippers. They're gathering money to start a new temple while attempting to find the scattered members of their former thieves guild. Party nearly gets pickpocketed by a bunch of thieves, one possessing the symbol of Phenax, a little hook for their backstory. Rogue charisma the thief away from the guard arresting him to question about their missing guild family, taking the bait perfectly. The entire time, Roommate was tucked away in a tavern, ignoring the party, fighting the pickpockets until the very last round. On her phone, bored of petty squabbles. Rogue pulls Thief into an alleyway with the rest of the party trailing behind and strikes a deal for information on her family in exchange for escaping the guards. The rest of the party is slightly uneasy that will ruin their reputation and risk their employment as they watch the two thieves cant at 50 miles per hour. But Rogue nods and starts figuring out a reputation-preserving, really cool plan to uphold the deal. Amazing roleplay. Super proud of my Rogue and how far their roleplay has come since the start. Seems like we've gotten a great recurring NPC for Rogue's story to be further involved in the campaign. Roommate tried to butt in a few times because it was her time, not Rogue's, and she got tired of watching someone else roleplay without her input. When she butts into the conversation again to demand to join in negotiations, the thief calls her out on butting in on nearly every done deal, and she responds by threatening to ice blast him for information instead. The rest of the party is completely shocked and had to pacify her in roleplay, but she continues to threaten and butt in so hard at the moment that I have to stop the game in its tracks to metagame away and tell her to knock it off, as she was preventing any and all meaningful roleplay and was angering the table. Roommate eventually huffs and seethes and says that apparently she can't do what she wants, but let's just start fresh. She literally tried to cast Fireball her way through someone else's roleplay moment. We try to move on and put together a pretty nice plan though. Everyone got their own special moments, by the way. Our former sailor fighter got to negotiate free passage on ships, and a ghostly hummingbird, her dead father, regularly shows up to point in the direction of her kidnapped sister. Our rogue had the skeevy thief regularly come back with info on their lost community through his grapevine, and ghosts that died in the temple fire regularly appearing to poke at them for pranks. Our bard had an entire subplot where they came to forgive the god that they rejected due to the loss of their mentor/uncle and the theft of their uncle's prize viol? The hell's a... Oh. Huh. That's cool. Roommate herself regularly got memories slowly recovered from their tangled mind and located traces of their long-dead civilization alongside ghosts of the ancient past darting in and out. There were times for everyone to shine, and if anyone felt left out, I added more hooks for them. The other thing that really ticked me off was when they hit level 4. She took the elementally adept feat so she could ignore resistances to cold damage, since she realized being an ice wizard in cold resistance land was a little unwise when it came to more icy foes. She then threw a fit at me since cold immunity was still immunity, and she wanted immunities to be made into resistances. I tell her I'll weigh that and determine if I will allow it. I ended up not, since she had already applied cold resistance to herself. She did not like that. When the session began after that level up, she unexpectedly asks everyone to come to the tavern, not communicating to me what she is doing or planning even when I ask. So I wait to see what she's doing. Maybe it'll be interesting and engaging. It wasn't. It was the wrong choice. She gathers everyone up and gives them a long speech that her powers are growing stronger and her ice magic is cold to those that resist it and even immune to it. I grab the first pause I can hear in her speech and spirit the scene away quickly back into DM control, very weirded out and miffed that she implied that immunity was changed and also rambled about how cool she was for what would have been 3 to 4 minutes if I hadn't cut her off. I tried to talk to her about it after. She was completely unresponsive to my concerns, but she did acknowledge immunity is immunity. As time went on, other things became worse. Out of character, she'd be constantly on her phone, even when I told her to put it down, act annoyed and bored and tired, then would spend over a minute figuring out simple turns. I tried to implement the 45-second rule on turns, or you skip, and she repeatedly shot it down, saying it made her anxious and she would not abide to it. As a first-time DM, I was too meek for her at that point, which my party paid for. She only got worse at bragging and arguing semantics during battle, and she started getting hostile to my other players. She'd act miserable the entire time, then claim she was having fun when I asked. Every time someone would cheer or laugh at normal volume. She'd cover her ears and act like she was in pain even across the room, but refused to wear headphones or regulate in any way. She would meta the other players to the point where when I asked what amount of coin the rogue would report to the party, probably shouldn't have asked if they shortchanged the party, newbie mistake, roommates started out of character threatening the rogue's character with spells to the point rogue had an anxiety attack. It couldn't have been justified as roleplay as the character didn't know about any deceit on rogue's end because it didn't happen. Rogue was being honest. On top of everything else, we were starting to suspect she was fudging rolls too. Out of game, she was also becoming an even worse roommate, becoming even more short-tempered, refusing to clean the house, and instead had her parents come in from out of town to do her chores for her every few weeks. She just became even worse to live with, to the point of being verbally abusive and threatening. I tried to be peaceful at first, and I was more patient than I would be with a non-roommate since I lived with her, and she paid more in rent and utilities per our agreement since she had the ensuite and chose where we would move in with no input from me. But anyway, I was honestly scared she'd stop what little she did for the house and her chronically vomiting cats and pull something like trying to change the money agreement in revenge or start taking things out on me more. I was a victim of financial and child abuse in the past, so I was not messing with any of that in the early months, especially with my roommate getting more and more verbally violent and vengeful to people around her in everyday life. After she started getting worse, I was seriously ready to tackle this despite my fears. If anything, it's just because my poor players, they don't deserve this. I spent weeks with the other players working through a letter to text to her, something firm, but something that wouldn't set off her shortened temper, to put a stop to this, but not risk my safety or the peace of home. I didn't want to end the campaign as that would cause shockwaves, and my players wanted to keep it going, but I needed her to shape up if she was going to continue with us. The letter ended up not being sent, as it all came to a head one session in late November. I had communicated a bit of the letter verbally before the session that we'll be using communal dice trays, since we suspected she was cheating on top of everything else, and metagaming would be cracked down upon. She was resistant the whole way through. During the session, she was even worse than usual. She tried to use her own dice tray, would not count out her dice, or tell me what spells she was using. She would glare at anyone even speaking too loud, and was on her phone constantly and looking pissed to even be there. Every time she would roll high over and over again, and every time she said something self-centered, my players would share looks. Everyone was miserable, and roommate texted me that she wanted to leave soon. I was exhausted from trying to nanny her all night to curb her as she blatantly disregarded all of our conversation, and my final exams were in a week on top of it all. We took a pause for everyone to refill their waters, and I just sat there thinking about how I didn't want to be here. My players were miserable, I was miserable, and I saw no way out, at least no way without causing a huge scene and risking the rest of my lease and facing a vindictive roommate. I didn't want to be a DM. I didn't want to DM ever again. When it was time to start up again, I shifted a bit from where I was hunched at the table, hid my face from roommate, and shot distressed looks at the people that could see me, trying to signal to them, I don't know, something. I wasn't sure at the time. They asked if I was alright, and I told them I was a little lightheaded, and then I burst into tears. I was inconsolable. I needed to get out of there and away from my roommate. Two of my dear friends leapt up and escorted me outside so I could get some air, and I just broke down on them on how scared and trapped I felt. I think it hit me then. It hit me how terrified I was of my roommate and what she could do, and how I felt legitimately unsafe. I couldn't cut her off. She lived with me and had every ability to hurt me if she wanted to, and she was getting shorter and shorter tempered by the day. My wonderful, wonderful friends got me calm enough to figure out a game plan. I'd drive my roommate home, then slip off for a bit to join the rest of my party at one of their houses, and we would figure out a plan together. At that meeting, we decided to suspend sessions under the guise of finals and winter break and not meet for a little bit, just to let things cool. After school started again, for the players in college, we would play with just the three of them and simply not mention anything about resuming to my roommate. Let roommate think that we were just never starting up again, and if they ask about everything, claim that we just never got back together after a month and a half long disruption of breaks. We could go back to enjoying sessions, not abandon all my homebrew work, and we could pull the kill switch at any time during the break to shut it off completely if we just weren't up for it. We actually found a replacement member during this break, one of Rogue's friends that was a former DM, and Rogue had known them for years. I agreed to let him Discord in with assurance that he was nice. The plan went off without a hitch. The new player is a sweetheart, plays a vampire warlock, and fits right in, and the first session back was like a breath of fresh air. A very sweet new player that has fun and has no chance of cheating. Roommate to this day has never asked about D&D starting up again and has no retribution pointed at me. She's still a terrible roommate, but it's so much nicer when I don't have to interact with her and she has much less control over me. My table is happy and I'm happy. I know this was long, but thanks for reading if you did. It was a crazy one, and I promise I'm safe. I'll be out of here in 3 months, and she's more occupied with screaming at her parents and friends than the roommate that stays out of her way. This, right here, this is exactly why I live alone. I am terrified of situations like this, and I think many of us are. I already exchanged messages with the writer of the story, and I know I've already said this to you, but hand to my heart, I truly wish you the best of luck in getting out of the situation. Feeling trapped in your living situation, feeling trapped in your own home is like the scariest feeling I could possibly comprehend in my personal life, at least. I think I speak for many when I say that I'm glad that you're safe, and I hope that those next 3 months go by very quickly. But in any case, let's try to talk about D&D stuff. I know obviously the roommate has other problems, but yeah, main character syndrome is big here. We have a person who really wants to be the center of the campaign. We've seen that before, but here we see something unique. This person is leveraging their relationship with the DM to get what they want. It's like the worst version of somebody giving favoritism because it's exploitative favoritism. This main character syndrome player isn't just the receiver of boons because the DM likes them. They're the receiver of boons because they're forcing the DM to do so by leveraging their housing situation. That, in my opinion, is one of the worst things a problem player has done inside of a D&D game, let alone all the other stuff that they're doing. Man, this whole story sounds like something straight out of the Something Awful forums of old. DM, I wish you the best of luck in the months to come. And that's going to be it for today's episode of RPG Horror Stories. If you guys enjoyed, then please do leave a like. If you want to see more of my content, then you can check out our Crown of Deceit Dungeons & Dragons actual play with Crick Crab, Whistle While You Work, and Jesse Jurdak. It's linked in the cards, and while you're there, subscribe to Crispy's Tavern to get more of our content right as it comes out. And finally, if you want to leave your own stories or thoughts, go down in the comments down below. If you can't think of a comment, leave the comment eStAblisH DOminANCE to let me know you made it to the end of the video. Hey, by the way, there is an email where you can send your own horror stories to get a chance to be featured in one of these videos. But whether you have horror stories or not, in essence, like, comment, subscribe. I will see you all next time. Farewell.